Bhagavad-Gita ki Kama istai stai rityagana Prapajante nyadevata. Everybody can repeat, it's not very difficult. Tam tam niyamam astaya Prakritya niyataksaya.
Kamai stai stai rityagana
Kamai stai stai rityagana
Prapadyante yadevata
Prapadyante anyadevata.
Tam tam niyamamastaya
Tam tam niyamamastaya
Prakritya niyataksvaya
Prakritya niyataksaya. Anyone else? Kama. Desires. Tai. Various. Rita. Deprived of. Jnana. Knowledge. Prapadyante. Surrender. Anya. To other. Devata. Demigods. Tam. Corresponding. Niyamam. Regulation. Astaya. Following. Prakritya. By nature. Niyata. Control. Swaya. By their own. Those who are freed from all material contamination surrender under the Supreme Lord and engage in His devotional service. As long as the material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees. But even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not as much attracted by external nature because of approaching the right goal. They soon become free from all material lust. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that whether one is a pure devotee and is free from all material desires, or is full of material desires, or desires liberation from material contamination, he should in all cases surrender to Vasudeva and worship him as stated in the Bhagavatam 2.3.10. Akama sarvakamo va moksha kama udadadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purushaparam. That's the sloka that was previous was the translation. Less intelligent people who have lost their spiritual sense take shelter of the demigods for immediate fulfillment of material desires. Generally, such people do not go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are in the lower modes of nature, ignorance and passion, therefore worship various demigods. Following the rules and regulations of worship, they are satisfied. The worshippers of demigods are motivated by small desires and do not know how to reach the supreme goal. But a devotee of the Supreme Lord is not misguided. Because in the Vedic literature there are recommendations for worshiping different gods for different purposes. A diseased man is recommended to worship the sun. Those who are not devotees of the Lord think that for certain purposes demigods are better than the Supreme Lord. But a pure devotee knows that the Supreme Lord is the master of all. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it says, Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasa Vricha. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the master, and all others are servants. Therefore, a pure devotee never goes to the demigods for satisfaction of his material needs. He depends on the Supreme Lord, and the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives, whatever Krishna gives. Om Ajnana-Timirandasya Jnana-Shalakaya Chaksuramilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. I was born in darkest ignorance, and my spiritual masters opened my eyes, blazing torchlight of knowledge. So we offer all respects to the spiritual master and previous acharyas, and hope that everybody wants to hear something worthwhile. The whole idea of Bhagavad-Gita, Prabhupada said he never has anything new to say. It's always surrender to Krishna and worship Krishna. Krishna is stressing that throughout the Bhagavad-Gita. It's not because Krishna is wanting something or wanting to be he is the master. He doesn't have to become the master. So he's saying that the foolish people in many different places, they worship the demigods when their intelligence is stolen by material desires. And then they think the demigod can give them. In this verse that's listed here from the Bhagavatam, Akama Sarvakamo Va, Mokshakama. Whether you have no desire, no material desires, no lusty desires, or you have all lusty desires, it's still better to worship Krishna than the demigod. Because by worshiping Krishna, you'll get purified. He'll direct us away from the lusty desires. And devotees learn that the demigod is not independent. He can't give anything unless Krishna sanctions it anyway. So to worship the demigod is it's compared to like bribing when you have to go to court to bribe the policeman, but that won't affect the judge, right? If you just pay a bribe to the clerk or something, that won't make a difference. If you can get through to the judge, of course, but not many can do that. Trying to go to the demigod, they can only give what Krishna lets them give anyway. In this Bhagavatam there, previous to this verse, there's a whole series of verses telling you which demigod gives which things. Anybody read that? Indram India Kamaistu, Brahma Varchasa Kamaistu. If you want sense gratification, sex, you worship Indra. If you want to get rich, you worship who's the treasurer of the demigods? Kubera. If you want good health, you worship the sun and the horizon combined, and there's a whole series of things. If you want a good husband, you worship Durga, and if you want a good wife, you worship Shiva, or something, on and on and on. So there's a whole list of many, many different things. So people know that, and then they think, they have to worship different demigods for different things, and they don't understand that Krishna is the source of all the demigods, and they're not independent. And actually, the proper worship of a demigod, if you really follow strictly, the first worship is Vishnu, and then the prasad of worshiping Vishnu is given to the demigod. Otherwise, it's not really proper worship of the demigod. But people don't know that. So, of course, Prabhupada, he said that it was easier to preach in the so-called Western countries that never heard of the demigods. He said, Krishna's God. He said, okay. Right? And that's what I said. No argument. You know, we never heard of who's God. We just knew there was God. So if somebody tells you, okay. But the Indian people would say, well, what about Shiva? What about this one? What about that one? There's so many gods, I think. In Fiji, the Swami at one of the big Mayavadi ashrams had bought this set of books, and he could appreciate the Bhagavatam, and he even bought the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And I asked him if he read the purport. He said, oh no, the Vaishnava commentary. But then he had it all over his wall, he had all the gods, you know, and then they have even ones that aren't even gods, they're just some personality, you know. And he said, Nam Namakadi Bahuda, you know, because Krishna has many names, so that they think all these demigods are names of God. But it's different. Krishna says over and over again, I'm the source of all the demigods, so they can't understand them either. They can't really know Krishna. Lord Shiva is different. And if one worships Shiva as a devotee, which he's the greatest devotee, and worships him for the benediction of being able to serve Krishna, he can help as a guru. But most of the people that worship Shiva are worshipping him for power, and material power, opulence, getting rich, getting powerful, like that one Vrikasura. He was worshipping Shiva, and he was really serious. And he was cutting off flesh and offering in the fire. And finally, he was even going to cut off his head. And Lord Shiva came and said, wait, don't do that. You don't have to do that. Shiva's easily pleased. You just offer some water or something. So he said, what do you want? So he said, I want the power that anyone I touch their head will explode. So Lord Shiva said, okay, because he's Asatosh. He very easily gives what they want, so he doesn't have to bother with them. So people approach him, and they do some small puja or something, he'll give them what they want. Okay, leave me alone. Krishna doesn't do that. So this demon immediately thought now he had this power, and he was thinking Lord Shiva's wife is especially nice, beautiful woman. So I'll kill him and then I'll get the wife. So he tried to touch Shiva's head. And Shiva ran away. And they were going all over the universe, and Shiva was trying to get away from the guy. He had great powers. Finally, Shiva got to some planet where Vishnu was in the form of a young boy. And Vishnu told Shiva to hide somewhere, and then this demon came. And Vishnu greeted him and said, oh, Vrikasura, how are you? You look tired. You should rest. He said, your body is very, very important, and you have to take care of it. So the demon, he got attracted. And he was saying, I know your father, I know you're from a great family, and he was glorifying his body and everything. So he said, what's the problem? What are you so frustrated about? He said, well, I got this benediction from Lord Shiva. Anyone I touch their head will explode. And Vishnu just laughed. He said, Shiva, he doesn't really have the power to give such a benediction. He tricked you, cheated you. So the demon, he's a cheater, a rascal. He immediately believed that. Oh yeah, right. And then he said, Shiva's a little crazy now because previously that wife, Sati, had killed herself, and he was still upset about that even though he had a new wife. And so he went a little crazy. And the demon went, oh yeah, right. So Vishnu told him, just touch your own head, see what happens. So he touched his head, and so you can't defeat Vishnu. But Prabhupada said most of the people that are worshiping Shiva, they want something like that. They want to be able to manipulate the material energy, to conquer, to get lots of money, or even worse, to become, big, like Ravana or somebody, they worship Shiva also. Ravana was very powerful. And he was traveling one time and he came upon that Mount Kailash. And it was in his way, you know. So he just thought, I'm going to pick up this mountain and just throw it out of the way. And that's Lord Shiva's mountain. So he was so powerful, he started lifting it up. And then Parvati was there and she got all disturbed. And Shiva just pushed his foot down and it pinned Ravana's, 20 arms or whatever he has. So he was trapped under this mountain and he couldn't move. So one of his associates reminded him that he knew all these prayers to Lord Shiva. And he recommended these, so he started praying and chanting all these mantras to Lord Shiva for 1,000 years or something. And finally Lord Shiva let him go and gave him some benedictions, so he became even more powerful. But same thing, when he came up against Krishna, he didn't have a chance. But he thought, he got more and more puffed up. So Shiva is a Vaishnava Shambhu amongst it, he's a real Vaishnava, and he's a pure devotee. And he's not, no material desires, The other demigods, they're in their position and they're doing great service within the universe. They have material lusty desires, and sometimes they do crazy things. And they're getting their material sense gratification. And in return, their service is not pure. It's mixed. Shiva is pure devotee. But if you worship Krishna, Shiva is happy. Don't have to bother. Worship Krishna, all the demigods are satisfied. If you try to worship the demigod, there's 33 million demigods. There's no way to cover all of them. No way to cover all of them, but except by worshiping Krishna, then automatically all the demigods are covered. So, Ekala Ishvara Krishna. There's only one master, one controller, and that's Krishna. Arsava Bricha. Bricha means servant. All the rest are servants of Krishna. That's something to keep in mind. Easy verses to remember. Lord Brahma Samhita, the first verse we have in the chapter we have, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Everybody knows that one?
Yeah.
Say it?
Ishvara Parama Krishna.
Everybody say it. Just Ishvara Parama Krishna.
Satchitananda
No,
Vigraha.
only Ishvara Parama Krishna. Everybody say it.
Ishvara Parama Krishna.
Say it again.
Ishvara Parama Krishna.
Again.
Ishvara Parama Krishna.
That means you should be able to remember it. And anything that comes up that you think is good or bad, remember that. It's under Krishna's control. It's not, we're not the controllers. The person who's giving you a hard time is not the controller, it's Krishna. Whatever's happening good is not because you did something wonderful necessarily. It's Krishna's mercy. He's the supreme controller. The atheists, they think, well, of God, because that's the definition of God even in the dictionary. But then why is there so much trouble in the world? Why are people suffering? Why are there tornadoes and floods and droughts and all the things that go wrong? Because everyone's getting their karma, and Krishna is just giving everybody, what they deserve. So these few verses here go on about the demigods. Yo yo yam yam chanum bhakya shadayarchitam ichyate tasya tasya shalam shadam tameva vidamyaham. I'm in everyone's heart as a super soul. And as soon as one wants to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so he can devote himself to that particular deity. So Krishna's in the heart, and when someone wants to worship the demigod, then Krishna lets them get fixed up to worship that demigod. And demigod worship is common all over the place. Ganesh, now many people, they don't even worship Ganesh, but they just like Ganesh so much. So you find all over the world now Ganesh murtis and stuff. People don't get some souvenir, But he can also help remove obstacles, towards worshiping Krishna. But mostly people worship Ganesh thinking they're going to get some opulence, because he's always associated with Lakshmi. So God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Lord is super soul in everyone's heart, understands and gives him facility. As the Supreme Father of all living entities, he does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask why the all-powerful Lord gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world, and so lets them fall into the trap of illusory energy. The answer is that if the Supreme Lord, as the Super Soul, does not give such facilities, there's no meaning to the independence. So he gives everyone full independence, whatever they want. But he's telling us how to use your independence. Surrender to me. He's saying that the surrender to demigods is foolish. Both the living entity and the demigod are subordinate to the will of the Lord. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the supreme will. As it is said, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods as they are advised in the Vedic literature. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such and such demigod. For example, a diseased person is recommended to worship the sun god. These are some of the things from a person wanting education may worship the goddess of learning, Saraswati, and a person wanting a beautiful wife may worship Uma, the wife of Shiva. In this way, there are recommendations. That's from those verses I was mentioning. In Japan, their religion is called Shinto, and mostly they say they don't know where it comes from, but if you look at it, it's obviously a version of Vedic Hinduism. But in the Vedas, we have the different demigods to give different benedictions. But they have these shrines, but there's no demigod. But one shrine is for if you want children, one is for students, one is to protect sailors, and they go and they pray there for specific benedictions, and there's so many different ones. But they don't have they do have some temples of the different demigods even, but they have some Japanese name, and most people don't know. Some of them know, the scholars know that this one is Shiva, and this one is Yamaraj, and this one is Saraswati. Most of them they don't know. They have the demigods because Vedic culture was all over the world previously, and these things were everywhere. But then gradually Kali Yuga came in, and communication broke down, and people lost track of what was what. So some places they have only the demigods left. Sometimes they don't even have that. And then when the Christians and the Muslims took over different places, they condemned demigods completely, like there's no such thing. But that's not correct either. To think they're supreme is wrong, but they're there. And even in African traditional religion, they have the Supreme Lord, they have the demigods. In the Greek mythology, when we hear about it, we only heard about the demigods, but they actually have the Supreme God also. But they don't put much stress on that. Stress is on the gods, the rain and this and that, and all their different activities, their different lusty activities. But this, originally the Supreme Lord was there also. So the Lord inspires one to worship the demigod. The Supreme Lord is Super Soul, also present within the heart of the demigod, arranges through the demigod to fulfill the desires of the living entity. But both the demigod and the living entity are dependent on the supreme will. And the next verse says, Shataya Shadaya Yuktas Tasya Radhanamiyate labate chatata kaman, mayaiva vihitani tan. Endowed with such faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and gets what he wants. But in actuality, they're bestowed by me alone. So that's the same thing over Krishna's stressing. It's really coming from him, not from the demigod. Then antavaktu palantesham tadvavat yalpamedasam devan deva yajo yanti madbhakta yanti mam api. Then we get to the essence of it. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. They go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So Prabhupada explains that some commentators say that when worshipping demigods you can reach the Supreme Lord. But here Krishna says, no, they'll go to the demigod. And then in chapter 9, Krishna explains that, one who studies the Vedas and drinks the soma juice, and they can achieve the heavenly planet even of Indra, but after some time they have to come back. Can't stay there. And there's anxiety in the heavenly planets also. Sometimes, although they don't have birth and death like on these planets, they just somehow come to be, and then they end when their time is up. There's no growing old and getting cancer and having to go on life support and all kinds of medication and surgery, or they don't have any of that. And but it ends. Their time is up, and then they have to come back and take birth on earth again when they've used up their highest credits. Just like if you have your money saved up for vacation and you go to the travel agent, and I don't know if you do that in Switzerland, Japanese, they'll everything arranged. The hotel, the bus, every meal, everything is arranged. They have tickets for everything. They pay everything in advance. And then when their 4-day or 5-day vacation is over, they go back to work. And whatever they paid for is finished, and it's finished. Sometimes people win, like on some quiz show, they win a paid vacation to Switzerland or something, right? To St. Helens or whatever. You know that story of Prabhupada? They wanted to take Prabhupada for some, rest and relaxation or something, and they booked to go to the St. Helens, the mountain. Mm-hmm. But it was in the winter. And, they went, there was so much snow and everything was freezing cold, Prabhupada couldn't even go outside. And he said, this is St. Hellish. It's a nice place in the summer, but for Prabhupada it wasn't nice in the winter, because he's very sensitive to cold weather. That was just, sometimes his servants made mistakes like that. One time he went to, somewhere in Africa, and then when he came back to India, he didn't have that vaccination certificate. So they put him in quarantine. And he was saying, that Shamasundar, he didn't take care of that. And now I have to stay, he couldn't go out. He said, I'm doing the same thing, but I can't go out, so I don't like it. Normally he didn't go out anyway, except for the morning walk. But then after 2 or 3 days, he said, I have one in Calcutta, call Jayapataka and tell him to bring it. And then he got out and left Shamasundar, had to stay 7 or 8 days to see that he didn't have yellow fever. So there's always adventures. Anyway, the Antavatu Palamtesham, those whose intelligence is very small, they worship the demigod and they get something, but it's very little bit they get and it doesn't last very long. They may get rich, they may get some position in society, they may get the beautiful partner, man or woman, whichever one they're looking for, but it's a temporary thing, can't last. And it's not that great when one compares it to, getting Krishna. So they'll go to the demigod, they can maybe go and be on the planet of the demigod for some time. quite nice on the demigods' planets, heavenly planets. But then they have to come back. But one goes to Krishna, they don't come back. Unless they want to. They don't have to come back. When you go to the heavenly planets, you have to come back. When your time is up, you have to come back. You can't like say, wait a minute, you can't accrue any more pious credits in the heavenly planet or sinful credits. They just use up their pious credits. You can stay for millions of years sometimes. So there are different parts of the body of the Lord, they represent. And so if people, we preach to a lot of people that come from cultures where they're attached to worshiping the demigods. So we don't want to just tell them, that's devotees used to, oh, demigod, When I first met the devotees, I knew a little bit about Krishna, I'd seen some pictures and heard George Harrison singing, and, so I didn't know much. So I was in one shop and I saw this poster, this very beautiful bluish person, and I thought it was Krishna, because I knew Krishna was beautiful and Krishna was blue. So I lived in this Volkswagen van and I put it on the wall and I was chanting. It was Shiva, And the devotees came. Ah, demigod, demon, Shiva, get that out of here! They were so freaked out. And I said, well, I didn't know. I thought it was Krishna. I'm sorry. Took it out. We're not supposed to be that way. See? So for me, it was all right because I just knew that okay, I made a mistake. But if it's somebody who's really attached to worshiping the demigod and their grandparents and their everybody worship, you don't want to do things like that. Devotees got in trouble in a lot of places for being like that. But we just teach them how to worship the demigod. What the demigod wants, Krishna Prasad. The demigods like Krishna Kirtan. They like Krishna Kirtan. Right? Bhakti Vinod song, that Narada Muni Bhajai Vina Radhika Ramana Name. Then he describes how the demigods are having this huge kirtan and everybody got into it. And Indra and Shiva and Brahma and everybody was in ecstasy. He writes many songs like that. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Yamaraj found out that Jagai and Madai had become great devotees, he couldn't believe it, and he rushed, and when he saw that, he just fell unconscious. So the other demigods started a big kirtan and revived him. And then they all had this wild kirtan, the same as Jagai and Madai. So if you want to really please the demigod, chant Hare Krishna, offer Krishna Prasadam to the demigod. It's okay, that's the proper way. Then the demigod will be very pleased. Now there's no yajna of any kind, so we get very unregulated rains and unregulated weather like anything, and it's because there's no yajna. When there's proper yajna, the demigods are satisfied, but in this day and age nobody can really do the really, technical ritualistic yajnas, but the Mahayajna is the Sankirtan Yajna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Like this afternoon, so many devotees showed up by the lake there, and we were just chanting and chanting, and people like it very much. So that's what we're trying to do. So Krishna is giving that. And the next verse was saved for tomorrow because that's the end of the ones about the demigods. So Krishna, the demigods are his devotees, and he likes the demigods, and the demigods worship Krishna. So if we worship Krishna, then the demigods like that. But if you ignore Krishna and just worship the demigod, then that's a mistake. When people think the demigod is supreme, they think that Shiva is supreme. Shiva is almost same as Vishnu in power, but he's not Vishnu. Like yogurt. You can make yogurt from milk, but you can't make milk from yogurt. Or can the Swiss do that? They have any science for that? No? Can't do that, right? But it's easy to make yogurt from milk. You just put a little bit of something in a big pot of milk and you can make yogurt. But then it's nothing but milk, because the yogurt culture was just milk to start with. You know, somehow it, you know, but it's not milk. You can't, again, make milk from it. So Shiva is the expansion of Vishnu, and he's like the yogurt. He's not the original. So he's not completely, but almost. But he's Shiva. He's completely different. He's not Jiva. And he's not Vishnu Tattva, he's just Shiva Tattva. But he's the greatest Vaishnava. So if you worship Shiva, worship him as a guru. He's the head of the Rudra Sampradaya, you know, which is that's the four Kumaras, right? No, Vishnu Swami. He's a great devotee of Krishna. Bhaktivinoda made that song, Brahma Bole, Chaturmukhe, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then Mahadeva, Panchamukhe, Krishna Krishna, right? So it's one of them. He's always meditating on Krishna. He's always talking about Krishna with Parvati. They just sit and she asks questions and he preaches to her the Bhagavatam. And there's so much enlightenment there. But many people, all they know about Shiva is how powerful he is and how he's the Lord of the material, you know, the creator of the universe and everything, and they want that. They want to get something. That's the foolish. That's what Krishna says is unintelligent. Lost their intelligence due to material desires. So if we pray to Krishna, material desires are always harassing us. Pray to Krishna, get rid of them. Especially pray to Lord Nrsingadev or Lord Nityananda. Take shelter of Lord Nityananda. Teach people about the holy name, and he'll remove all the lusty material desires from the heart, so we can really focus on Krishna. It's very merciful. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Any questions? Questions? Everybody? Yeah.
I would like to ask you, Maharaj, now you have explained about the demigods, and what if some people, for example, give an argument, but how Krishna can be the supreme because Vishnu have the 4 arms and Krishna have only 2. I remember once we was in safari in South India with Jayapataka Maharaj,
Yeah.
and he said in South India they are saying sometimes Vishnu have 4 arms, Krishna only 2, and they think that Krishna is expansion of Vishnu.
Yeah, that's a mix-up. But Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo, matak sarvam pravartate. I'm the source of everything, and everything comes from me, including all the Vishnu incarnations. Everything. And that's just, it, you know, when Krishna comes into the material world, it's by the arrangement of Vishnu, but Krishna is the source of all that. You know. Balaram is the first expansion, and from here comes the Chaturvyuha, so there's the 4-arm forms in the spiritual world, and then more and more comes. So they're just confused. So Jiva Goswami, I think it's the Krishna Sandarbha, you know, he really straightens that out. He gives all the references. Because even in the Bhagavatam, there sometimes sounds like that, you know, like people are worshiping Vishnu as the original, but when Krishna comes, he's the original. So he gives it all, he makes it all very clear, and from many, many shastras. So people are bewildered because Krishna is bewildering. Even Indra and Brahma, who are great devotees, they were wondering how can this little boy be the supreme being. They knew Vishnu. They even knew Krishna, you know, as a grown-up Krishna. But they just got bewildered by this little cowherd boy being, you know, this They think, who is he acting like, who does he think he is? But then they realize quite quickly that they were wrong, that it really is the original. And they offered so many prayers to this little boy. Right? So people are bewildered like that. Some think that Shiva is supreme in South India. There's many like that. When Nityananda was traveling in the south, when he heard these arguments, people arguing, the Shaivites and the Vaishnavas, he just laughed. It's stupid. But there's many think like that. Shiva is the original. But that's not, they can't really back that up with real scripture. Maybe they have their own, versions of everything. Many Hindus especially, they have somehow think that Vishnu is supreme, and Krishna is, even the dictionary, English dictionary says Krishna is the 8th incarnation of Vishnu. But Vishnu, they don't know that Vishnu originally, Krishna did come like that, just to create more confusion, but they don't know that, everything originally came from Krishna. And he just comes into the material world that way. He's the original, he's the avatari. Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam. That's what Jiva Goswami, and that's the Krishna Sandarbha, but he says that he analyzed the entire Bhagavatam, and then this verse, it says that whenever, there's Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original. Krishna is the source of everything. He said everything in the Bhagavatam has to be understood based on that. That's like the essential verse for understanding everything else. Krishna is the original. And he backs that up with perfect logic from the whole everything. I can't quote him, I just know that much, So we accept his authority because he's the greatest scholar ever. He explained. Nobody can twist around Jiva Goswami's logical arguments to make it something else. You all right? Some will say, well, God is indescribable, so Krishna can't be God. People have even less intelligence. But Mahavishnu, he took the sons of the Brahman just so Krishna would come and visit him. Right? He just wanted to see Krishna, the source of him. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki jai. And Krishna. Bhagavan, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. And that's the Bhagavatam, and in the Brahma Samhita, that's also very clear that Krishna is the source of all the demigods. And Bhagavad-Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, Hata Sarvam Pravartate. I am the source of everything, and everything comes from me. That's good. Krishna says. So if we accept Krishna's authority, then we have to accept that. Jai. Thank you very much. Naka.
Let's go to John Maharaj.
Jai.